we are back. So, well, Kreg brought his fan base here. There's already 15 people in. All right, guys.
I didn't even.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Automotive Podcast where you don't have to build model cars, but it sure does help. This is episode 23. We are a full crew here, plus down in the Hollywood Square, we have Kreg Woods of the YouTube fame of Craig's Corner. So we will be grilling him about his hobby and whatnot as the evening progresses. And, of course, the three of us are hopefully recovered from our movement to the east to attend the NNL East. So, guys, how are we doing tonight?
I'm good.
Doing good. Yeah. Recovered from my 9-hour drive, which it somehow always turns into like a 12-hour trip. It's like a massive marathon to get back home.
It's seven and a half for me.
Yeah, like say we wanted to go, but that's 10.5 hours from my house. So it's a little bit of drive.
It's but it's worth the trip. Have you ever been, Kreg?
I have never been. That's on next year's plans. We're hoping to go next year.
Yeah, it's a bucket list if you haven't gone.
It is. We go to Acme. We're going to Acme again this year, so that's no different than that type of same trip. So we're planning on it.
Nice.
That's a good show. I've never been to
Acme.
Right.
Yeah, that good show.
Where's
a lot
Acme?
of kids on the table. Georgia. Cartersville, Georgia.
Yeah, it's a little up north of Atlanta on 75.
Yeah.
Put that one on my tour list.
Yeah, it's a nice drive, that's for sure.
I've probably spent an unreasonable amount of time in Cartersville, Georgia over the years driving trucks because there's a Budweiser brewery down there. So I've spent an unreasonable amount of time in Cartersville for anyone who doesn't actually live in that area.
Right. Yeah, it's a nice area down there.
So what do we think of the NNL, guys? What was your take on it, Mr. Tester, Mr. Duff?
It always goes by so fast. You get in, put your stuff down on the table, go try to get to the vendor space, and stop 15 times to talk to people. And yeah, the whole day's just gone. Before you know it, it's time to pack up and go home.
Yeah, it went by in a blur.
Absolutely.
How about Mr. Duff?
I for people who follow the podcast for a while, you guys know I run a separate website for law enforcement vehicle photography. So I ran around to a couple local police departments on Saturday morning, and I got there probably about 8:30. So it's a half an hour before the doors open. And that in the past years has been enough to get me parking somewhere in the vicinity. And I was telling Kreg before, for anybody who's been to the show before, you know that there are ball fields behind the building, and there are Little League games every single time we're there, which is cool. Like it's great. If you park in the wrong spot, you get a foul ball through your windshield. But this year there was some sort of crazy old record sale thing going on in the front parking lot where it wasn't just old records, it was phonographs, right? The crank thing on the side with the big fabric horn speaker thing, and the whole front end of the parking lot was taken up. That's 50 parking spots up front. It was taken up by this old antique roadshow thing that was going on out there, which, I mean, considering the demographics of the NNL East, probably would have been appealing for anybody who really wanted to go over there and collect some old records. But I ended up parking in the literal last spot in the place. If you look at a map, the building is here, and the driveway goes around the back of the ball fields, and it goes around the back, and then there's school bus parking way in the very back of the parking lot where the lake is. And there's a sign, official vehicles only, no public past this point. And I parked having an SUV on the sidewalk in front of that sign facing back out again. So I was as far away as I could get, still be on property, and hike the half mile up there, which isn't the show's problem, but I just thought it was kind of funny this year. Like, who scheduled the record guys to be here? Like, hey, this place is packed as it is. They didn't need that extra. We need that extra parking. But the show itself was a good time as always. I thought it was very amusing for the people who were at the show. When you were in the the hot box room is a bingo room, and the kitchen is attached to this bingo room, and it makes that room incredibly hot. It's probably a good 10 degrees warmer in that room than it is in the rest of the venue. And it was right beside Round Two's table is a thing called Automotive, which is my local hobby shop. They made the trip out there. They do a bunch of show vending. If you're on the East Coast, you've met John Becker before. He has opened a brick and mortar. Anyway, he was there, and because he felt that he wouldn't be competitive in sales for domestic model kits, his entire thing was just a wall of import model kits.
Woo!
And everybody was in there going, "Hey, do you have this? Do you have that?" And it's like, "Yeah, it's back at the store because I didn't bring any of that stuff." Did you think you're going to sell this goofy import stuff? Like, I don't know. I mean, it was certainly a different. He was the one guy that had all the Tamiya kits and the Fujimi and the Aoshima stuff. So, I mean, if you were there looking for that stuff, you, for the first time in a long time, had an actual vendor selling new stuff of that. But I was in there with a few people that I know, and they were like, "Do you have this kit? Do you have that kit? Do you have this kit?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know his. I mean, I know his inventory. I've known him since I was 16 years old. Yeah, he has that. I know he does." And then go over there and like, there was one little section of Mobius kits, one little section of Salvino's kits, and the whole wall of what looks like my basement. And I was like, "Not here. Like, if you want me to ship it to you, I can go to the hobby store when I get home, because it won't cost me any more than it would for you to mail order it anyway." But we ran into a couple people that said they were there because we had pressured them into it by listening to this podcast, so that's always fun. I was walking outside and some guy goes, "Hey, you're James Duff," and I go, "Yeah."
I don't owe you money, do they?
He's like, "I'm here because I was listening to your podcast." I'm like, "Was it worth the drive?" He's, yeah, this is great. I'm like, "Okay, cool." You don't want to think they're like, we hype it up because we enjoy going, and then there's some guy who's like, "This was the biggest waste of time in my entire life. Why am I here?" kind of thing. I'm like,
sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Did we overhype it? Because I don't think we do, because I think it's that and Acme are sort of the two big shows that I don't necessarily think you could overhype necessarily.
Right.
Yeah, and the quality of the stuff that you see on display there is really high too. Because I think it's the kind of show that attracts kind of the who's who of the modeling world, like certainly on the East Coast and maybe even some of the Midwest. So it pulls in a really high quality of and it's just model cars, right? It's not like a IPMS show where you're going to see planes and trains and everything else. So I was definitely not disappointed at all in the show. My hot tip is to always get there super early. The first year that I went, I made the mistake of like, this show starts at 9. I should be able to just walk in, right? No. No.
2 hours later.
2 hours later, and had to park, like a mile away, and then chuck my models and stuff, and that was ridiculous. So I learned, get there at 7:30, and then you can find some place reasonably close to park, and then you just have to wait a ridiculously long time to get inside. What the unique thing that happened this year, so because of this podcast, people now know what I look like. Before, people kind of know my name, my models, but they never really knew me as a face. And I could walk around in relative, anonymity, I guess. Not like I'm any sort of celebrity or anything, but in a weird way, people now recognize me. So I did get stopped quite a few times, and just had people say, "Hey, Sven, hey, Sean," like, and I was like, "Oh, hi."
Well, I saw you in Ohio,
but yeah, obviously,
and that's why I turned around like, "Hey, I know you."
Right, that's kind of how Kreg and I at the BSAC show, and that's kind of same thing with, I know him from what he looks like now from his YouTube channel, which I wouldn't have known anyway. So I'm sure that Mr. Tester, all you guys, you probably started to experience that.
Yeah,
that people recognize. Yeah, it's just the first time it really has happened for me, and so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Soon you won't even be able to go to the grocery store.
That's right. You'll see you'll get chased down by people like Frank. Sign my box. Sign my box.
You'll be
Well,
calling Uber Eats.
I did have some nice conversations with a couple of really cool people and people I had not met before either. Let's see. A couple of my models got selected to get photographed, and I never had time to actually run the models over. I took one of them over, realized it was like, I don't know, 15 or 20 people in line to get their. I was like, I'll come back later, and then I never actually did. So I sort of missed that opportunity.
You've had stuff in magazines before.
Yeah.
That became my little patrol there around noon or so. I was like hanging out and started walking around, and like James had something photographed for the magazine. I like chase him down. Hey! They wanted to. Ryan, who was on the podcast before we went, they had 5 of his models. Yeah. I think it was all Model Cars magazine for him, but he had 5 things. Hey, Ryan, they wanted to take a picture of this, and he grabbed it and he was writing out the form for it. And I was walking past him, and a bunch of his other stuff was on a table right in front of where he was filling out the forms. And I turned around, and looked at it, and I said, "Oh yeah, and these things over here, are like that, and that." If you hand them, so good on him.
Yeah,
because it was very, very amusing. Ryan put together a slammed version of the. As in lowered to the ground, version of the round 2 dually reissue, and he painted that thing like at work, and then cleared it the day before the show at work. And then I told him, I said I can smell it off gassing from Pennsylvania. He lives on the other side of Pennsylvania, so I can smell off gassing on this side of the mountains. Jeez. And then they photographed for something he threw together in 36 hours or so, like to have that photograph. I can't even get the motivation to get up in the morning most days. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, I just threw this thing together, painted it with House of Colors," and then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, we want a picture of that." Like, touche, sir, touche.
I love going to model shows, and you can always tell that fresh build as you walk by it. Like, oh, that was done last night.
You worked on that in the hotel, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. I've been there. I know that. I'm that guy.
I think we've all been that guy once or twice.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What was your favorite or what models kind of stood out to you? Anything that you guys remember as being like, oh, that was super cool?
No, I'm kidding.
Models? What models? Are models there?
I've got some of my favorite builders, and I just love seeing their work. I won't flatter, but yeah, I saw a lot of my favorite builders' works.
I had a good conversation with Gary Westfall, I believe his name is. Who actually I invited him to be on the show later in this year, so I think we'll have an opportunity to get him on at some point. But I think he won they had a theme contest for Ford pickups, and he was the winner. That he had the sort of the dual can't talk right tonight. The dual Ferrari powered.
Oh right, I saw that.
Real weird. Dual rear engined Ferrari powered Fords. Well, that was hard to spit out for some reason. But Gary is kind of known for doing cool lighting on his models. Like a lot of his builds features like neat LED headlights and taillights and really intricate. And he was kind of talking me through how he wires together and how he actually builds the little headlights and like little halo effect lights and some really cool looking stuff. So yeah, I had a good conversation with him. It was really neat to get to hear how he builds some of those things. I was going to say, also had a good conversation with Doug White. He'd recently built that Little Willie's Jeep, and there's a really cool video on it on on his channel. I forget the name of his channel. Do you guys remember what?
Monocar Muse.
Monocar Muse, that's right. It's such a neat little Willys Jeep, and you probably would pass by it, like if you on the table. It doesn't really jump out. Yeah, it's not a bright
It's
color.
blue, dark blue, right?
Yeah, it's pretty subtle, but when you actually start to look at it and start to examine, there's so much scratch building and detail in it, and he's got a great video that goes into the story of building it, and so it was a sort of a treat to sort of see it in person and chat with a little bit about him building it. So I enjoyed that. Did you guys?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you pick up any new stash ads?
I picked up that new Charger police car because I needed it for parts, and then stopped by Sam's, the splash paints, and picked up some splash paint.
I got there late. I was intended to maybe see if he had anything. I was hoping he'd have something I want. He was pretty much cleaned out of most of the things that I was interested when I got there. So,
right,
he must have done well.
Yeah. His first like half hour, he didn't sell anything, but then all of a sudden he got swamped.
Got cleaned out. Yeah. I typically run through the show to see, like, I'll do a quick pass to see if there's any bargains and if there's like sort of a recon run to see where I might want to. I had very little money to spend this year, but I was like, oh, and his was one of the things that I knew I wanted to come back to. Yeah. By the time I got back, it was gone.
I was on the lookout for a BMW M3 by Dragon. Didn't find it. I'll find one.
Is that an older kit?
90s.
Yeah, that would have been 94, 95 when that was tooled up.
Yeah.
Mr. Duff, did you get anything?
I'd love to know who owns the civilian half of that tooling, because the folks over at BMAX and Nunu bought the race car version of that M3. So I don't know where if they have all the tooling or not, because they're not going to release it as a civilian car. But I picked up. Let's see. I got this very nice set of Corvette wheels from Mr. Tester over there. These are made out of cement or concrete or something like that. Would you say this is a nylon resin that you print these out of?
Ultra tough. Yeah, ultra tough.
Yeah, they're super nice in terms of the fidelity of how thin the spokes are. But I also could probably use these as jack stands on a semi. So those are cool. And then part of our little barter system we had set up for importing paint, because I got him several bottles of Pro Scale the last order that I did, and I'm trying to see if I have the kit anywhere around here. I do, but it's probably like buried. Yeah, it is. But anyway, I had him grab a file set for some wheels for a Subaru rally car, so he printed me out these Chromadora wheels for that Hasegawa kit, because I bought a set off of KMP, which are these same wheels, except the KMP's wheels are sized to 18-inch for the Tamiya kit that was a couple of generations newer, and the Hasegawa is a early 90s one and has like 14-inch wheels. So as you might guess, those wheels didn't fit those tires. These ones are sized specifically for the kit. I stopped over and talked to Brandon at a few sprues loose, and I picked up the correct rear-wheel drive Charger wheels for the police car. For people who may remember the controversy about that, the kit itself has the all-wheel drive wheels in it, which is cool, but the kit itself is not all-wheel drive, because obviously they didn't put the front end, transaxle and stuff like that, which you'd never see anyway because it's all covered in plastic. But rear-wheel drive wheels, they use the center caps out of the kit for the center caps, so that's cool. And then I picked up this. Let's see if I can get this on here without being a glary mess. This grill for sort of the upscale, I guess it would be up trim grill, because it has the turn signals integrated into the grill for the Revell Blazer.
Oh,
So
the new one. Okay.
the new one. So yeah, you use the other set of headlights that come in the kit that are just like, don't use these parts. They go into this grill. So maybe I'm not sure if that's going to be a feature of the Jimmy, those headlights, or they're going to do a later version of the Blazer itself that'll have a use for those headlights. But be that as it may, it's just, cut this off the supports, throw the other set of headlights in. So that's my kind of conversion where I don't have to do any work. And then I picked up the new 65 Nova stock kit, because remember there's a pro mod version of this as well. And then while I did not, like Frank, have Sean sign it, I did pick up one of the Svensson special 4x4s while I was there.
Nice.
Because Model King, who's based in Jersey, who obviously does a lot of the stuff with Mobius. If you model Mobius kit and it says Model King on it, that's Dave Burkett and his family. They were having a screaming deal on this. This was $24, and this was $22.
That's good.
So
Yeah, that's pretty much.
So practically free, as as people would say.
Yeah,
So yeah,
Dave almost always has about the cheapest prices on new kits.
yeah, especially the Mobius stuff, obviously.
If anybody else cares, Dean's Scale Model Zone says Revell's coming out with that BMW M3. So cool. Thank you, Dean.
I'm suspicious, but go on.
Yeah, I saw that. Is that going to be an all brand new kit, or is that?
No, I'm sure it's just reissued.
Okay.
I have not heard that, but all right.
I didn't add very much to my stash, but like you, I also went to the 2 sprues table and picked up, or 2 few sprues loose, right? It's the grill for the 76 Chevelle, or I'm sorry, Nova SS. So I actually have an original 78 kit.
Oh, wow.
And I always wanted to do like the 76 SS because I love these Malaise era cars. So I'm gonna do a stock version of that at some point in my life. And
what would you kit bash that with, Sean?
No, I mean I just build the stock.
Okay, build the stock. Okay.
Yeah, just build a stock Nova SS. I'll probably make my own stripes and everything. It's probably somebody makes stripes somewhere, but I can make my own decals, I think.
Yeah.
And then I'm very thankful. I have this cool friend of mine who 3D prints things. So he printed out one of these international travel-alls for me. Thank you, Mr. Tester.
You're welcome.
And so we did a little trade. I did some decals for him, some custom-made decals, and he brought me that kit. So
Thank you very much.
At the top of my build list. So I'm excited to do a little work on that. I also had the Demon on display there. So I had that finished. I didn't think I did not have that finished at the last podcast. And then I also had on display, if you noticed it, and I think a lot of people probably missed it because maybe the color was so subtle, but I have a built version of the all new, yet to be released, wide body SRT Charger from A&T.
Hellcat.
With the Hellcat motor in it. So that is you can see it.
Yes, sir.
There it is.
Very nice.
All 707 horsepower of screaming supercharged V8. So this was a fun build. I really enjoyed building it. You can kind of get a shot of the chassis there. Very nice chassis.
Yeah, nice work.
Clean.
Yeah, cool build. I was excited to get an opportunity to build that, and I will post some pictures later on throughout the week on my various Instagram, Facebook pages. So that's me. You're on mute, Mr. Duff.
People walking around upstairs and with the creaking. Not to leave you out, Craig. Have you picked up anything recently?
I have gotten a bunch of stuff. I actually picked up a large collection from a gentleman I knew that passed away. So his brother got a hold of me, and
Ooh.
I picked up. He was probably almost 80, so I knew the guy from a long time ago, and he just a big model guy. And his brother stopped by at the dealership I work at, and he's like, "Hey, I knew you bought models for my brother. You interested in these? Come on out to the house." So I'm like, "We'll be right there." So I was out there twice, so I picked up a lot of stuff, and he's got a lot of old stuff as well. So that was kind of cool. I picked up the huge Budweiser Clydesdale set by AMT, the 30-inch long um, Clydesdale set. So I'd love to build that and take that to a show someday. That's pretty neat looking. I don't know how I'd get it there, but it's really neat looking, and everything's open, but everything's still in the plastic. So it's pretty cool to see a lot of stuff. Other than that, haven't really been to any hobby shops or anything lately. So I've been busy with that, going through that stuff that I picked up from this guy. So yeah.
What was the most exciting thing you got in your? What was the most exciting thing you got in your stash there?
Other than that Clydesdale set, there was this really cool. I'll show you quick.
Oh, neat.
Check that out.
Jenny.
So it's an original. Yeah. It's almost all there, but it's pretty cool looking. So I told the lady I wanted it mainly for the box.
Yeah, no doubt.
And she says, "Just go ahead and take it." And I was like, "You sure?" So she goes, "Yeah." So I thought, that's cool. So he had a lot of cool stuff there. It was one of those like Candyland places. Just every room had just stuff everywhere, and I thought, wow. You could just spend days there just looking through stuff. So I was thankful he come over and got a hold of me, because they're just getting rid of it, probably for next to nothing. And so I was thankful for it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's neat box art.
Yeah, I wanted just for the box. I didn't care if the car was even in it. And then there was another one. This one here was a really cool one. The Rough mini bike. Check that out. I thought that was really neat. This one's almost complete. It's just missing the motor. So it's got real rubber wheels and seat, and I thought it was pretty cool.
I wonder if they still have tooling for that.
Pardon me?
I don't know.
I
wonder if AMT has to. I don't know.
If I could find a motor for it, that'd be perfect. But that's the only thing missing out of the box. So it's got the chain, everything is all there. It's pretty neat. It's got real springs for the front suspension for the forks. So that's pretty cool looking. Yeah. So I saw that, and I got to have that. That's pretty neat looking.
I've never seen that before. I didn't even.
No, I've never seen that kit. No, never seen it. So we're going back in this week, and I'm probably going to clean her out. So.
Awesome finds.
Yeah.
Everything must go, right?
Everything must go. That's right. So yes, they got a bunch of 1-to-1 cars there too that we're looking into, and we're still working up the price on some of that stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
Fords, I assume.
What's that?
Fords, I assume.
Yeah, he's got I'm interested. He's got 88 Turbo Coupe there and a Mercury Cougar, a Capri. Ooh. So that's one's 85, one's 87. So I'm looking at that. And then they got a 67 Stang in the garage that we're working on some details for that one. So we'll see how that goes. But that one's in a really nice shape.
I know you like those turbo coupes.
I do. I had one back in the day, and I'd like another one. That was a really fun car. Right out of high school, I bought one. And yeah, I wish that was one car I would have kept. So it was just a nice, all my buddies had Camaros and Firebirds and Trans Ams and Mustangs and all that stuff. And, I thought, I got to give me something different, and that's where I went with the Thunderbird.
Those cars are super cool. I remember when they came out, I was very enamored with them. It was very.
So, of course, yeah, my turbo went out of mine, a couple years after I had it. And, of course, I bought it used. And so I ended up putting a V8 in it, a fuel injected 5-liter out of a Mustang in it. And then that was a really cool car. So, yeah, that worked out really good.
Kind of the executive hot rod.
Yes, exactly. So, kept the 5-speed in it, had to have the handshaker. So it was just fun.
Nice.
It was fun. Yep. So other than that, like I said, just trying to get some new builds up and around for the upcoming shows coming up. So that's other than that, that's what I've been working on. I just finished this Trans Am. It's not quite done. This was
I
another.
saw that online. Very nice.
So I just finished it last night. Well, I'm missing the mirrors in the spoiler. I was gonna put them on tonight, but my hands were saying no, not today. So we just left it at that. So that's the only thing missing, those items there, and she'll be ready to go.
Is that an 87?
85. That is
85.
a monogram kit. Yep, that's a monogram kit.
Okay.
So the decals were horrible. It took me a lot longer than I wanted to because I ended up just scrapping the decals on the side of the car. They have this like an orange type decal that fades into the, GM used to do that fade decal. Almost like a pixel dot type thing. And they had that around the bottom. And oh man, I just couldn't they just would not lay down. It's almost like they're too thick. And they were milky, and just, I couldn't get them to look right. So Microsoft, let's go. We just peeled them, and I thought, well, I'll just leave it at the gold and black, and it looks good that way. So
I've been following along with that intensely because that is the first model kit that I ever built as a kid. First is that 85 Trans Am. I have one in the pile to redo as an adult, but that is that box art right there, and that along with the 85 Fiero that they're going to reissue were like two of the first. Like, I'm not even that big of a GM guy, but I guess it just was what was at Kmart at the time when I was 8 years old. So those two Pontiacs are like, and I have both the original ones. But
Kmart and Ben Franklin's, that was our stores,
Oh yeah, that car was a high school boy's wet dream when I was in high school.
Oh, yeah.
I graduated in 85, so that would have been like, the poster car to have.
Yeah, my aunt had an 82 when that body style first come out, and of course I was just in school, and we thought it was the coolest thing riding around red with the T-tops. I was like, so it was always cool. I always liked that car. Just a lot of memories of that car. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, those 80s cars have kind of come back into fashion. I think they finally found their era where they're
niche.
Cool.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Irvin. I'm going to build it too, and I'm going to do exactly that. So we're going to display them together.
Irvin here, who will be joining us next month in one of our episodes, saying that Sean needs to slam his travel walls.
Yeah. No, Tester's going to slam his. I'm going to raise mine. So we're going to go up and down.
There you go.
Hey, real quick, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Frank Steffen from Frank's Model Work.
You too?
Sent me some mod top decals. We had a nice discussion at the NNL, and we were talking about mod tops, and he graciously offered to send me a set of decals, and I got them today. Thank you so much, Frank. You are a gem of a guy, and I'm excited to find a project. Maybe it'll go on the trap wall. I don't know. Maybe
he sent a set over to Marco's too, and I commented on Marco's post that Frank told me that they weren't for sale. So
we did a little trade. I sent him a little something too, so it wasn't
a little trade off.
A little trade off there.
Yeah,
but
it's all right.
Thanks, Frank. I appreciate it. I have to take back all the things I said about you now.
Not all the things. There's still a few. Let me see here. I'm going to share a screen like I've never done this before. Of course not. Why would I be prepared for anything? Let's see. This should be so next year. Speaking of which, let's see. That's sharing, right? Yeah, it is. This is the flyer for next year's show, April 25th. Mark your calendars now. The show themes are going to be the 63rd anniversary of 1963, which is, I think, stretching it. But hey, everybody likes 1963. And then the sub theme is going to be apparently the 250th anniversary which is the semi-Susquehannial. We're doing a big thing of that here in PA. Obviously, we've already changed all our welcome to Pennsylvania signs to reflect that. And so anything red, white, and blue for your theme. So start building now.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. The red, white, and blue I think is cool. I've always actually wanted to build one of the Javelin Trans Am cars.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I've got kits to build all of them actually, but I've never actually gotten around to building them. So
Nice.
Maybe that's what I'll do.
And while we're promoting here, a couple of things that are coming up this weekend with Marcos Club and the guys down in Maryland. It's the 30th annual Mid-Atlantic NNL down in Havre de Grace on May 10th. Obviously, 60s cars and Mopars, or 60s drag cars, and Mopars being the themes there. And then one last shout out, because this will be before we come back on again, is Motorama in Franklin, Indiana. That's a 2-day show, looks like. It's attached to a 1-to-1 car show. And I think if you are anywhere around Facebook, you've seen the awards they're doing for these, which are pretty nice. Not your average plaque. And so, again, I know that the guys who run the show usually follow along the podcast here, so we'll give them one more shout out before their show. If you're in Indianapolis area, check that one out.
We poster art for that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the nostalgic pamphlet. That looks really cool.
Yeah, well done.
Let's say for most of us here on the East Coast Midwest area, this will be the last of the shows before we sort of lull into the summer, and then fall show season will pick up in August, September, and we'll all be crashing back in through various. We had a little small rinky dink. James came to it last year. Little show with vendors today, and I did not, or not yet today. Obviously, yesterday. I did not participate in that because
it's your club.
No, my club is the IPMS club. We had our show back in March. Actually, no. Technically, I think the show that you came to is next weekend. But it's one of the little volunteer fire departments. We're having a vendor show, and when we do a people's choice thing, there's like 20 models on the table, and it's nothing against any of the local guys here. But if you've seen the traveling museum of kits that are priced too high once, you've seen the traveling kit museum that are priced too high 3,000 times. It's like, I bought the things I'm going to buy domestically, the 2 Mobius kits in Jersey. So, yeah, I know Brolin and the West Virginia guys came up, and it was 30 minutes away, and it was too big of a drive for me because it was like, I've seen this stuff. It's the same stuff. Yeah, I think if you go to a lot of model contests around your area, if you happen to be fortunate enough to have some around your area, you end up seeing the same vendors at the same show over and over and over again. Yeah. And the inventory doesn't change. It's always the same stuff. That's the, oh, honey, I tried to sell my models, but nobody wants to buy them. I don't know what to tell you because they're priced $50 more than they're worth. So I can't get rid of them. I don't know. I have to keep them. So.
Yes, Kevin. So, Craig, did you ever finish that DeLorean that you were working on?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
No.
It's in the pond. Let's put it that way.
Again?
Yeah, this is twice. So
Man.
I was gonna bare metal foil it, and
oh wow,
I was gonna try that route, and it didn't look that good. So it was too hard to get. Sometimes you open the foil and you get that little crease in there, and try to transfer that over, especially across the hood. It just didn't look right. I wanted it to look just right, and I couldn't get it out of there. And sitting there burnishing it down, and just wouldn't go. And now I burnished it so much, now it's polished in that spot, and so I'm just okay. Let's try something different. And I tried the Model Master Metalizer, which worked really good, but it did these stainless, and it had a blue hue to it. It actually looked cool because I did the bumper in the gray, like the dark. I think it was like a medium military gray, a German gray, I think it was, and it looked really good. But it don't really fit the car if you know the real car. It didn't have that nice sheen to it. So I thought, well, I stripped it down and tried another paint, and it didn't look good either. So it's being stripped right now. So that's, and then I go to do the decal on the dash, and I had it just set perfect, and I thought, okay, it looks good. So I thought, I'll take a little micro saw and put it, and it rolled. I mean, it rolled just instantly, and I'm trying to fiddle with it to get it back, and it's gone. I thought, okay, I got another kit. I bought 2 of them. It did the same thing in that kit, and I thought, okay, now it's getting a dash out of an Oldsmobile kit or something now. So I might have to call Aoshima and see if I can get a decal for it or something, or just print something off. But yeah, so not my proudest moment. Let's put it that way.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah,
I was thinking of doing mine in gloss black.
Well, okay, so I looked on. I always research my builds. Every time I do a build, I always research interior, everything. Just like this Trans Am, I didn't realize they had a charcoal insert on this particular car, because this car doesn't have T-tops or anything. And they did so I thought, cool, I'll do that. I'll make it look a little, dress it up a little bit in the inside. And I was looking online, and I saw a couple black DeLoreans, and also some burgundy, like wine color. So when it was at the Dam Show in Detroit, I bought a bottle of Bob's paint, the burgundy wine. And that's what I was going to do, one of them been the burgundy color. I thought that looked really good.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so far the other color isn't working for me yet. But I was going to do the color you and I talked about, the Mr. Hobby. I don't have enough.
Okay.
So I'll have to make a trip down to Ypsilanti sometime, and the hobby shop down there, he's got all that Mr. Hobby colors and everything down there, or just order some in the mail. But it's just an excuse to go down there to hand pick it. That's better yet.
I'd like to check that place out. He's got a lot of good Japanese paints.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a room full of paint. I mean, I think like 2 rooms actually. It's just rows and just racks and racks of paint. That's the most paints I've ever seen in any hobby store ever. So pretty impressive. Yeah, that's
not just Tamiya.
No, he's got everything down there. Everything but the MCW is the only thing he's missing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you've perfected that. I'll say perfected. You've perfected the model car world enamel. I think more than anybody else.
I can't get away from it. When I first started using it, I did a 62 AMT T-Bird, I think it was, and it was horrible. It went on so dry, it looked like I put it on with a roller. I mean, it was just, and I saw the people using this. I thought, how can I don't understand this. And I used to paint 1-to-1 cars years ago, so I know the kind of the mix ratio and temperature and thinners. I mean, there's a lot involved, to make it look good. And I know this is a PPG based paint. So I figured it can't be that hard to do. It's just in miniature scale. And I realized I'm just not using enough thinner per their parameters, basically. They were telling me, because I went and visited Mike down at his hobby shop when he was in Ohio. And he was telling me, he says, no, mix it this way. And for me, that mix wasn't working. I don't know if it was my airbrush or air setting. So I found more thinner. Leveling thinner worked great. And then I realized rapid thinner works really good with the metallics. That worked really good. So, and a lot of it's the way you spray it. If you're going just fast passes with it, it doesn't work well. You go just a nice slow, take your time. You can get it to come out just beautiful. So
you're basically hosing that stuff on, but
I'm putting it on very heavy.
Yeah. But I've seen your work. That's beautiful.
It's a lot of light coats, though. I mean, like in a video, it looks like you just fire hosing stuff on there. But I mean, it's really in a video. I mean, it's probably 15 passes, really. I mean, it's a lot of just slight overlays, and it's just and your overlap makes a big difference. I just keep the overlap to a minimum. I find out that works really good. So just like the Trans Am here, I mean, that was originally when I did this, it wasn't, in the one video I did, it wasn't polished. I was just straight out of the airbrush, just sitting in a dehydrator, and that was it. But this is actually wet sanded now because, as well as anybody, just if you wet sand something, you get that more of that smoother glass look versus you'll get that little bit of a ripply look out of it if you just sprayed it and let it go.
Right.
So, but it had that nice wet look when it was done. I thought, oh, do I touch it or I just no? I got to wet sand. I got to play with it. So we'll see. But yeah, I had issues with MCW when I first started using it. I didn't learn it, like I was with other paints. And I was a Rattle King champ with Testors paints. I mean, I could put a mean paint down with that, and I thought that was it. And just like anybody out there, you think your stuff is like looking really good until you go to a model show somewhere, like, wow, I need to do a little bit of homework here. Need to step it up. Yes, I guess. Yes, it does. So then, of course, it motivates you. Like, okay, well, we can do this a little better. Let's take a little more time on it. And my problem, I rush with things too many times. Just like I feel like I'm a production builder. Like, okay, we're done with this. Let's move on to the next one. And this didn't go right. Let's box it. Let's move on to the next one. And for me, I could paint a kit and put it in a box and forget about it. I mean, that's painting it, and decal is my favorite part of the build. That's hands down. That's my favorite part. I actually like curbside kits. I don't have to do the engine or anything like that. Just let it go. But that's my joy of the hobby, is I like to do it as the kit. I'm the kit builder, I don't do a lot of modifications. I'll do an engine tire swap, something like that, but that's it. I don't cut them up, and I don't get the enjoyment out of the building them that way.
Yeah, same.
But that's me, it's everybody enjoys the hobby somewhat different, so that's my take on it,
Yeah, I was gonna say, actually, I think I enjoy doing the fab work most. I like to do some sort of modification, scratch build some little piece, do some little conversion work, get it to the point where it's sitting up on the wheels, and then it'll stay that way for weeks. It's like,
yeah, so this was a fab job here, and that's where it ended up, is on the shelf. This was the 79 pace car.
Oh, nice. Opening up the doors and everything. Wow.
I cut the doors, hatch, everything. And I tell you what, you guys that do hinge doors and stuff, I give you credit, because I broke the A-pillar. I can't tell how many times. I've supported it, and it's the same thing every time. I keep breaking it. So it got shelved.
Oh, it looks like there's a lot of work in that one.
Yeah, like I said, it just took the enjoyment out of it for me. So I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate your paint jobs. You mentioned using a dehydrator. That's interesting. Tester, do you use a dehydrator?
I don't. I've heard to get it for 2K clear, because it'll cure it faster.
Well, being able to use enamels, it's nicer because I use hardener with the paint, and I put it in there, and most of the time I can put it in there. Once I paint something, I'll stick it in there, and I won't turn it on. I don't want dust or anything to float around, because it's just a fan and a heat grid, and I'll leave it in there overnight. And then the next day I'll come out and I'll turn it on for about 6 to 10 hours, and I can work with it and sand it, do whatever for enamel. So I like it for that reason, because I use a lot of enamel paints. And if you prime something, you throw it in there, it's good to go. In a couple hours, you can paint it, because I found a lot of times with priming, you want to let it sit for a long time, because primer is tricky, because you think it's dry, but underneath it's still gassing out, and it'll come back and bite you later on, because it'll flat spot someplace if it's not 100% dry. So I try to primer out. Sometimes I'll let primer sit overnight, and I'll work with it the next day. Like James and I are testing, if you can find it, because I use the Mr. Hobby primer, and that's obviously getting hard to find. So
yeah, that irritates me that's gone. I don't know what I'm gonna do once I run out.
I have a little bit left. I have almost every color here except for what is that, like the brown?
Mahogany?
The mahogany, yes. That's the only bottle I don't have here. I'm almost out of my gray. I'm almost out of the black. I have a little bit of white left, and I have a whole jar of pink. And yeah, I'm almost out, and I can't find any, unless it's an aerosol can, but I airbrush everything. So it's, anymore to get a can is like, it just.
Well, decant it.
yeah, that's it. I'm not sure how that would go on primer. I guess I never tried that. You know, I'm sure it'd
I
be the
used to
same as regular.
decant to me a primer a lot because I like the primer, but
Yep. Yeah, I like
would
their
decant it.
can primer. That sprays out like glass. I mean, that's pretty good. You got to be. I mean, the white I always found run really easy. It seemed like, but you know, the gray's always the easy one to choose. You know, that's a good choice running with the gray. But
Right.
yeah,
I talked with. Go ahead.
I was going to say, talking to a friend in the distribution side of things, they just got a huge, I don't know, it's close to 400 case shipment of the leveling thinner back in. So maybe the primer shall be there shortly thereafter. So it's Mr. Hobby is one of those things for the very highly consumable stuff, the thinner and the primers, where it comes in waves. Like it takes a couple of months, and then you'll get a huge quantity of it, and everybody has it, and then everybody hoards it real quick, and then it goes out of stock for a couple of months, and then the next shipment comes. Because Mr. Leveling Thinner was near to impossible to find. There's one place that still had some in the U.S. that I could find without shipping it from Taiwan or something via boat, because obviously you can't fly that because it's flammable. And I was like, no, I have a whole bottle and a half bottle. I'm good until it comes back. And somebody was like, oh yeah, we got 360 plus cases of the stuff in. And it'll be back out everywhere in the next couple of weeks. I said, see, I waited. I didn't. What happened? See, you don't build models, and you never run out of the stuff you need to build the models.
It's strategic, James. Very strategic.
Right. That's right.
I get down to a half a bottle, I get nervous. Like, oh, be careful, be careful.
I saw that MCW now selling.
Yes, I'm going to try that. I'm going to get some of that. I'm going to try it. They claim it's the same as Mr. Hobby, so we'll see. And it's a lot big. It's quite a good sized container for a decent price.
$14.95, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it's not a quart, but it's a big. I don't know how much, like I don't know what it is. It's good size. It's bigger than the 400 milliliter bottles that we get. I think Mike did a small advertisement or like a demo on it. I think I saw on Facebook or YouTube or someplace.
Yeah, he was spinning acrylic paint with it.
Oh yes, that's what it was. Yeah, because he said it works in virtually anything, kind of like the Mr. Hobby. Because the Mr. Hobby is like an organic thinner. Because I use that in my lacquers, enamels. I use it in everything. It works great. That's why I like it, because it's just universal. Just you don't have to have a shelf full of stuff just to mix this, that, and whatever. Obviously it's got its limits.
You end up using a lot.
I do use a
lot of it.
Yes. I think I have about 4 bottles of leveling here yet. And I think I have a bottle and a half of Rapid, the 400s. So I always monitor the stash, because I always, who has it, and on eBay, I mean, it's going for stupid money too to buy it on eBay.
Yeah.
Any of that stuff is. So I'll wait for the shipment to come in. It's in the cargo holding somewhere, out in the West Coast, probably. Yeah. Hopefully soon.
Well, Kreg, we had met at Columbus, a few months ago, and we were sort of chatting a little bit. And of course, I knew you from watching your YouTube channel, and I was excited to have you on the show because I wanted to learn more about the backstory of Kreg and how you got started in model building. And
well, I'm typical like everybody else. Did it with my dad. That's the biggest thing. And started without some snap tights, and thought it was the coolest thing. My dad was in the Air Force, so he built a lot of aircraft models as I was growing up. And I have his old B-52 model sitting down here. It was the big monogram. I remember that was life-changing for me because he painted it with Tester's paint, an aerosol can. And I didn't, at the time as a kid, I didn't even know that existed. I thought, wow, to me, it was just like the coolest thing. I didn't know they had spray paint for models, so that was such a game changer for me. And then from there on, it was on. I painted everything. So a funny story, I even painted our cat one time. We had this cat. I was doing this model in my room, and this cat would come in all the time. And I thought, get out of here, and so I just took it and give it a blue stripe down its back, and then of course it runs right outside, down the steps and into the living room, and I could hear my dad, who baited the cat? And I thought,
Oops.
but it was, yeah. So I built a lot of aircraft, growing up. I mean, tons of stuff like that. And of course, always, my dad was a mechanic growing up, so we was always around cars, and it was just something that was just kind of natural for us, and always working on them. So model building was the next coolest thing. So I always stayed into it. And like everybody else, you get 16, getting your own cars. And I think I had my first car when I was like 13 or something like that. And we used to race around the backyard with it. And my brother had one, so we'd always play around. But I never really put the model thing down. I always built along the way, kind of in the background. And then later in life got back into it heavier and heavier, and it's been a great hobby. I'm into the model railroad also. That was a big thing. We started with the HO scale railroad, so I got enough stuff here to open a hobby shop, probably in my other side of the garage, because that's what this room was originally going to be for, was a railroad room originally. And I got kind of back into the model car thing, and it's just kind of took off from there. So but I like the card thing versus the railroad, because you can finish a model car. The model railroad is never finished, so it's one of those things that's, you're always adding on to it or changing this, where I can finish a kit and move on to something else. So if you have that deficit problem, like, I like the model car thing a lot better. But yeah, so I really enjoy it. It's just, and like I say, I'm more of a box stock builder versus the kit bashing and all that kind of stuff. I appreciate the guys that do it. I see those guys that build that, and I thought, kudos to you, because that's just not me. So
where did Craig's Corner come into all that?
Well, originally I started my channel. I was originally going to do everything kind of like on my channel, like do like automotive how-tos and maybe a little woodworking stuff and projects I do around here. But then I realized, learning the YouTube side of it, the algorithm doesn't work that way. You got to either stick in this platform or do this. You can do maybe a couple things, but you can't, it's hard to do multiple things to keep it going. The algorithm, to keep a certain crowd, I guess you'd go.
Right.
So, I have a couple different cars here that I would work on in the summer, and I was going to involve those in my channel, but I find if I put anything with automotive on my channel, it doesn't go anywhere. So it's one of those, I'll probably have to do another YouTube channel, which I don't know if I'm going to, because I can barely keep up with this one, So I may do another channel just because of that. But it's just, yeah, that's where the name originally come from. Because I didn't want to be specifically just models. But then, like I say, I found out that's kind of not how YouTube works a little bit. So that's kind of how I end up with that.
How long have you been on YouTube?
Well, YouTube says 12 years, because I did my first video like a long time ago, but I never put anything up after that. So basically, I started YouTube when I built this room. And so I've been just going on 3 years now. So I built this in the wintertime, which was the dumbest thing I ever did, because it was freezing outside of Michigan. I mean, it's 10 degrees outside, and I'm bundled up in full on snowsuit, basically out here cutting stuff and trying to paint in here, and it was horrible. So once I got power ran out here and I got heat in here, that was a lot. It was more comfortable. And like I said, the outside's just OSB, and it was one of those, I'll finish that later. Well, that is later never comes. So it's one of those, you walk in the door like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Because it's completely drywalled. I got a mini split. I mean, you could live out here if you want. I mean, it's laminate flooring. It's very. This is my hangout. I hang out here every day. So, yeah.
The wife appreciates that, I'm sure.
What's that?
The wife appreciates that, I'm sure.
Yeah, like say, she's probably in Fortnite right now with the kids. So, well, now we have good enough internet, because every place we've always lived before, and that was kind of kept me off the YouTube before, was we never really had good internet, because we live out in the middle of nowhere, and it was just like DSL through the phone line. So when I used to watch videos. I actually watched James Duff's channel a long time ago when he on the staff reports, but I could always watch it on TV, you know, like on smart TV.
I'm sorry.
I know. We had to start somewhere, you know. But I had it. I couldn't watch on a computer because we just never had that good of internet. So we had, you know, the one smart TV, and I was able to do stuff there. And now we finally got decent internet here at the house, which we actually just got about 3 months ago. So we're finally in the 20th century. You know, we have fiber now, so
Nice.
life is good because I'd never had internet out in my garage before. So now I got like 3 adapters to make it work out here. You know, one of those
Nice.
expander sets. You know, so I can dub out here, so it works out really good.
And what
Yeah,
part
so
of
when I did my videos before, I'd burn everything to a drive, and then I take it to work and upload it to YouTube. So my videos always uploaded like at 8 in the morning or something like that. You know,
and
that's
what
how
part
I
of the
always
country
do
you
it.
live in?
Pardon me?
What part of the country you live in? What state?
I'm in Michigan.
Oh, Michigan. Okay.
Yeah. So we're up in the
You're supposed to
rural
hold up your
area.
hand or
Yes,
something.
yes.
Okay.
There you go.
By the
I don't know
thumb.
I don't know why my camera's flipped. I had it set to where it was like normal. Then when we did the stream here, I see it's backwards again. I thought, not sure what that's all about.
It shows right side up to us. So.
Oh, it does to you?
Yeah.
You're not inside out online.
Oh, yeah. On the screen, it looks like it's mirrored, like everything's backwards on my side. So, but yeah, so it's we live out in the, you know, across the road's a cornfield. You know, it's just that's how it is here. So the biggest city, I'm probably 30 miles away, easy.
Wow.
So,
What do you do
I
for
like
a living?
that. Pardon me?
What do you do for a living?
I'm a Ford technician
Okay.
at a dealership. Been doing it for 30 plus years.
Okay.
So
Good on
it's
you.
getting harder to hold on to things because I'm getting that crippled thing going on.
And
Yeah,
I think
so
you as a Ford guy, maybe that's why I feel like you build a lot of Fords, but I also see that you build all kinds of things. So I don't know.
yeah, I like everything, you know, and growing up, my dad was one of those, you know, our family's a Ford Chrysler family growing up, and you know, it's a lot of kids growing up back in the day, you know, you were into whatever your dad was in or something like that, you know,
Right.
but nowadays it's whatever has the biggest screen or cup holders. That's how it goes today. But you know, I like a lot of stuff, like, you know, I really like a lot of the GM designs, but that's about the extent of it. And like I say, we just grew up around that stuff, and that's why I probably build a lot of it. And I have a couple 1-to-1s out here anyways, you know, like I have an 85 Mercury Capri that's kind of built up. And I just acquired my brother's truck because he passed last year. So he's got a 90 or 83 F100. So it's all done up. So it's all we've ever owned, really. So it's one of those type of things.
And you mentioned kids. Do you build models with your kids, or do they have any interest in kids, or do they have any interest in models?
Well, yes and no. Of course, our kids are all grown, and so it's pretty much the wife and I in the house now. But my daughter, she's been out a couple times, and when I built this room, I actually built it with 2 stations. So the spot where I sit here, and on the other side of the room here, there's another, basically a workstation. And where my computer's sitting right now, I added on an island, so there actually 3 people can come out here and work. But
We'll be right over.
the wife, huh?
We'll be right over.
Yeah. Hey, the door's always open. I don't like nothing, you know. But anyways, the wife was coming out originally, and I told her, pick a kit off the shelf, just whatever you want to build, except for this one, you know, had some specialties, like, no, those are hands off. And of course, she picks the AMT 68 Mustang 500. I thought that is the worst. The green box art one. You know, it's like a Walmart AMT buy, you know, one of those things. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is like the worst kit to start. If you build that your first time, you'll never build another model. You know, it's just, you should have started with a Tamiya kit or something. Just an easy kit, you know, but right. So she started on that part way, and then she got frustrated. She put it away, and she started something else, and she hasn't been back out since. And my daughter, they would like to come out, but they live, you know, a good half hour away, and they're all grown and whatnot. So So no, it's just basically me out here most of the time. Yeah. So I have fun.
I had 3 kids and 2 boys even, and
Nothing.
the modeling bug did not stick to any of them. So.
Yeah. Well, that happens, that happens. But yeah, I got 2 girls, and then my wife, she's got a daughter and a son, and like I say, they're all older, and it's they don't, none of them really taking an interest in it, which that's okay. I'm not wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite 3D designers just joined on, Denelson. How's it going? Totally nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
He makes the Audi TT Roadster and hardtop in 3D print. He also did an Alpine A110.
Nice.
Very, very nice designs.
Is that the Alpine that printed the decals for you?
Yes. Yep.
Neat.
Yeah, he does good work.
So what do you print your decals on, Sean? Is that like a laser jet or inkjet or?
I have a cheapo HP inkjet, and I got some decal paper from Amazon. Works great, and use like Tamiya Clear, and
so you use just a regular clear, not like a bonder type. Remember the old Testors inkjet paper they used to sell, and they come with the bottle of bonder, I think they called it. So
yeah, I never tried it. I'm aware of what you're talking about, but I never experimented with that.
Yeah, that actually worked really good, and so I tried to make some decals here a while back, and I needed ink for I have just a regular ink HP printer, and I sent the wife to Walmart to get some ink, and they didn't have it, so she brings me another printer home, and I thought it's a Canon printer, and I thought, well, let's try that, and that is the crappiest printer I've ever seen. So I think, well, I'll have to put that back away and go find my HP ink. That worked a lot better. It was an older HP, but it printed really well.
Yeah, my wife, we got a newer, the other one kind of crapped out. We bought one, we got a Black Friday deal on it. It was like $40 or something, super cheap.
Those are the best ones.
It works great. Like I was like, man, the color's bright, the resolution's real sharp on it. I don't know, works good for me.
Yeah, that Canon we have, that thing is just it's horrible. I mean, it smudges it as the cartridge goes across. You'll get a little bit of smudge lines, and I've tried printing different things, and then the software they give you with it, it's very. I thought stuff back in the 80s were easier to use than this. Just I don't get it. But I tried to do some stuff, and I can't get I did my Mobius, the tow truck. I put my last name on the door, and I must have printed that 50 times to get that right. It either looked wrong, or it was blurry, or I about gave up on it. I thought, I'm just going to use Larry's, whoever Larry is. So that's what come in the kit, the Larry's on the side. But no, we kept trying. We got it finally. So it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it was good enough to work. I actually think both sides is different size, if I remember right, but you don't notice that if you're looking at it.
Yeah, I found that having the right graphic software, that makes a huge difference.
Yes.
But I have access to. I use Adobe,
Photoshop,
and Illustrator.
Yeah, I have Adobe. That's what I do all my videoing is all Adobe programs, and through PR, and I have a lot of that through my subscriptions. But I always forget to utilize it. It's just one of those. Whoops, I guess I could have used that. And my daughter, she's into that big time, and she was the same way. She says, "Why don't you use the Adobe?" And I thought, I keep forgetting I have it. I just don't use it enough to learn it that well, so I just never use it. But eventually.
So, how many models do you think you built over the years?
Are we talking like since beginning of time or just recently?
Well, I guess, how many do you currently have, like in built and on display in your home? You still have, not counting the ones probably blew up with firecrackers when you were a kid.
Oh yeah, okay. So there's a time frame there. Well, Yeah, because we used to glue them together and smash up derby with them a lot,
Sure,
back in
yeah.
the day, and stuff like that. And we never did the blow up thing, like that. But we used to build the balsa wood airplanes and catch them on fire and fly them around. That was kind of cool. But the problem is the wind would catch it and it'd be on fire, and they're like, "Oh, it's going toward the trees," It's just
Restage the Battle of Britain.
yeah, that was always cool because we had this 2-story house growing up. And you can throw them off the balcony, and just watch them go. But model wise, though, geez, I don't know. I would say probably a good 100 of them sitting in here that's built. It's sitting around, but I don't really have a lot of displays. They're mostly still in the boxes, or when I go to model shows, they're actually sitting in these green cases behind me. Those are the case I take them out. All my builds are in those cases, so they're just ready for the next show. So I just leave them in there, keeps the dust off them. And I have one display cabinet here on the side, and that has models in it. Other than that, I have just boxes of model kits on the bench here in their boxes. So I need to get. You've got the kit in Ohio, didn't you, James? Yes. And I need to get some. That's like the Carney cases, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably have 100 up there.
Yeah. So I need to get something like that. But in this room here, I really don't have the wall space because I got it cluttered with everything else. But I built another room in my house. We had a spare bedroom, so I built a separate room in there, and I have my 3D printer in there. I just basically took it was a bedroom, so the one side of the wall is just a bench. Yeah, so we have our Cricut machine in there, the wife has in there, and of course the printer, and I do my video editing in there, and so I've been utilizing wall space in there, and that's what I like to get some cases in time and put some of my builds in there. And I have a few models that I'm retiring from the shows, because I don't want to be that guy and just keep taking the same model. That guy, just because I had that rusty snowplow I did, and I've won a lot of stuff with that, because it's unique looking, and I'm retiring it. So I'm building a display in that room with the awards I've won with it, kind of behind it, and put the model in the middle. And I saved my papers from all the shows I go to, and I'm just going to put those kind of like, not a shadow box, but something similar to that. And just, that's what I've been doing with about 3 builds I'm going to do in there. Just put them on the wall with the displays, with the awards or whatever I won with them. And just to kind of take them out of the circuit. So that's why I'm trying to build a new bunch to take now, and for upcoming shows.
Nice.
Because around here, we don't have a lot of shows. Once our Detroit show's over, we only have a few, and then we got to go to Ohio for any of the good shows.
Mr. Duff, do you have a picture of his snowplow? I don't know. Craig, I don't know if you had sent any photos of your model to James or not prior to.
Oh, no, I didn't. Actually, I have it right here behind me.
I'd love to hear a little bit more of the story about. I mean, it's such a cool build. Yeah, you can hold it up there. And,
James will make it big, I think.
Yeah, there we go.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about the story behind and the inspiration for why you chose to build it.
So this here was built because this is what we see in everybody's backyard. It's just so it wasn't hard to find a a prototype. So the exhaust is the corrugated pipes that you used to buy when you was a kid and do your muffler up that way. That's what that is. And I took styrene and wrapped it with metal, kind of like floral wire, and did that, and then just obviously rotted it out. Did the fade on the front, and then, like I say, a lot of the trucks I see around here, the molding's just hanging off, and there's nothing there. So I took the original molding from the truck, and before I peeled it, I put bare metal foil on there and made a kind of a mask of it. And then I peeled the molding off and then reattached it. So that worked pretty good. So yeah, I'm actually in the process of building another one, not an actual truck, but one similar to this. So a friend of mine from Wisconsin over at he's at the Midwest Scale Modelers. He's building the same truck, identical to mine, same color. And I think the show's in September. So we're going there and we're going to put the trucks together. And he's building like the new off the showroom line, and then I'll have mine next to that, kind of put them together. So that should look pretty cool.
Hey, neat.
So that's but yeah, I wanted to build it. I build everything kind of obviously showroom look, so to speak. And I really never did. This is my first rotted out build I've done. So it was interesting, but it was very time consuming. I mean, it was very time consuming. And I have a friend of mine that has an old Ford truck that he plows snow with, and that's where I got the idea for cutting the fender back, because that's how his truck looked. You know, looked just like that. And I thought, oh, that would be a cool model kit one day. I'll just, so I learned to cut the inside out first and then take it. And then I actually took, like, where the metal is on the sides, I actually took and did bare metal, or I took like tin foil and I wrapped on the inside there and made it look like it's got the 2 layers. It's kind of hard to see in the picture there, but
yeah.
So it's got 2 layers of, looks like steel there. And that's what I did with that, because that's how real trucks are. There when they rot out, they basically have that, you got your metal and then you have an inner part of the metal. So that's what I did with the tin foil, and that worked out really good. And I used Vallejo weathering paints to paint it up.
Yeah,
Not something I usually do with acrylics, but I'm not an acrylic guy, but that seemed to work the best. And I use oil paints on it as well. So in the model railroad world, if you want to see anybody that does really, really good weathering, watch a model railroad video. Those guys can weather like you wouldn't believe, because they use acrylics and oil. Because you can take the oil, put a little dot on it, and just wipe it down, and it'll just make a nice smear. And then you clear coat it, and then you do another layer, clear coat it, another layer, and you build it up to what you want with pastels and powders, and amazing work those guys do.
Huh.
So that's where I learned a lot of the weathering techniques, was off the railroad videos.
Super cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed looking over that truck in Columbus. Then
yeah, it's got a lot of going. I want to fill the inside of it full of like McDonald's bags and like whiskey bottles and cigarette packs in the window, because that's what a normal snowplow driver would have in there, some chew cans or whatever. And just, I wanted to fill, a couple of cases in the back, just stuff like that, like what you'd normally see in one of those. But the interior looks a little too clean. So I gotta rummage it up a little bit. I did cut the seat out and have some foam sticking out, I did that, but that's as far as I got. I keep telling myself, yep, next show I'm going to make sure I get the stuff printed off and, put it in there. And of course, that week of the show, like, I got so many other things trying to finish a build to take, because it's still drying, and that gets left to the back burner. So it gets taken the way it is, just like that every time.
It's cool.
Next time.
These kind of fun builds, because you can keep adding more. Like, the more stuff you add to them, they just keep getting better.
So my last time I put wood in the back, and being a model railroad stuff, I have one of those what do you call it? It's just a static grass applicator. So of course it will look good before I left it, and on the way there it all kind of feathered out. But if you know what a static grass applicator is, you can take they have this, like, it comes in different lengths, and a lot of guys use it for dioramas. And you put white glue down, and it has a pin on a wire that's used for ground, and it's powered, and it's static electricity. So you just shake it over and it stands the grass up. So I had a bunch of grass in the back of that truck, but once I got down to the model show, everything kind of shifted, and it didn't look so good once I got there. I thought, well, it looked good when I started, but that's as far as I got. To kind of simulate that it's been in there for the season, like it's moss growing on it, stuff like that. But I think maybe flocking would probably work better for that. Maybe, like just some green flocking over top of it. It'd probably look better. Maybe, I don't know. But I thought I'd try it. Didn't work out so well once I got it on the road, because anytime I go to a model show, I mean, we're hour plus away, because Detroit from here is an hour and a half. So it's a lot of models don't. When we go to Georgia, it's always like, okay, what broke? So when we go to Acme last year, because when we go, we take the dogs, and so I built a special box to put the model boxes in. So if they did jump on it or whatever, it's not going to hurt nothing. It's a big plywood thing with the lid on it. I mean, it was just pretty high tech. So I'm just. They're going to make it. They're going to make it. So on the way back, she says, "Put that in the back of the truck." I thought, God, it's a little rougher back there. I thought, it should be all right. yeah, that was a mistake.
Can you show an example of how you travel with your models? Like, what's the case look like for the truck? I'm always curious to see how other people. Mine is super low tech. If you'd seen it, I'm always curious to see how other people.
I do the same thing.
Yeah. So you've made some just some
Oh,
foam.
you make dividers. Oh, you're fancy.
Yeah, I just bought a roll of foam from Michael's.
Okay.
And that's how I do them. I just put them in there, and that way there, everything just comes out. And this was just a big roll, and you buy it in a big roll. So I just take and just cut it out, and just go ahead and put all the kits in there. And then these are nice because they clip together, so you can just stack them. So the top one will have the top, like the cover on it. So the bottom ones, they just stack all. You can stack them as high as you want, but of course you don't want to pick it up with that top handle, because obviously you're picking up the weight of all of them. It's
Right.
But that's what I found. I actually learned this from a guy going to the Detroit show. I was that guy that was just taking them in the box, with a wrapped in paper towel or whatever, or a microfiber towel, and pulling the towel off, and it rips the mirror because it sticks to everything. And like, so I found these work really well, and they're pretty durable. With that foam in there, it keeps them from racking between each other. I mean, they ride really nice. So I think I got 6 of these I stack up, because I usually take around 13 to 16 models with me when I go to a show. It's like I say, they're usually far away, so I try to make it worth my while, to go. So, and then I'll just rotate them out or whatever. And when I go to shows, I'll make cards. So I have the boxes that are all numbered. So when I go to a show, I'll have a paper basically on the top box, and this way here I'll know, okay, box 3 has this, this, and this. So I don't have to okay, what box was that? And especially when you go to a table and it's got like your modifieds here, your box stock here, and all this stuff. That way I'm not searching for things. I'll have everything just kind of laid out, and it's organization is key, especially if you're putting that many on the table. I mean, I'll be there 2 hours trying to figure out what goes where. This works really good.
How many models do you usually take to a show?
About 13 to 16 roughly.
Okay, wow.
So,
I'm usually about 5 or 6.
Yeah. About 5 or 6.
Yeah. So like I say, the Trans Am's the next one on the circuit. And then I'm going to be starting another tow truck and rotting it out. So to replace the snowplow. I seen a guy, I don't know where I saw the article. I don't know if it was Facebook. Somebody did one of those Coca-Cola AMT vans, and he had it out in the woods, and he had a tree growing to the back of it. And the window in the back was popped out. And I think he must have used like the water effects type stuff that railroad guys use, because it was that real fine shattered, but it was folded over. And you can see the rubber gasket from the window hanging out of it. And I thought, that is so cool looking. I got to do it. So I'm going to try that. That's going to be next. Not on the van, but I'm going to maybe make the wrecker where the back window's blown out, like maybe a recovery guy where somebody shot his window out or something. So I'll have to get that Mobius shotgun kit and put it in the back window of the wrecker, that's got 2 of them in there, I think, doesn't it, in that kit?
Yeah, it's got a sniper rifle or a
nice.
Yeah,
that's what every tow truck driver has.
Rifle with a scope and a shotgun.
I'm pretty sure Pegasus will sell you the gun rack with the guns separately, because they'll sell you the wheels out of that kit, and they'll sell you the dually wheels separately. I'm pretty sure they'll sell you that gun rack. You don't have to buy the whole model kit. Not that I want to disturb Mobius' sales or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure for $5 or so you can just get the gun rack.
No gun kit, I'm not buying it. Yeah.
I think all those parts come on one tree, like all the custom parts, the suspension and the steel bumper, all that.
I have one that's ordered. It'll be here, I think, next Friday. I think it'll be here. So I'm, as I say at everything, I'll build eventually, but it'll probably just end up in a pile somewhere. I got so many to-do lists, I call it getting easily interested. I don't get distracted. It's easily interested.
Nice way to phrase that. I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I think so. Yeah, my table is usually just a mountain of stuff because I'm like, oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. And I'm like, wow, I need to put this stuff away because now I'm getting like overwhelmed by everything that's sitting here. And yeah, so
Yeah.
it's always hard to pick that next kit, what you want to build next.
I don't know about you guys. I'm so bad about. I mean, I have a room full of kits, and the one I want to build is the one I just got. And as soon as I get another one, I'm like, then my attention's it's like squirrel.
Yeah, that's what I did with the Aoshima, the DeLorean. I thought, gonna get on that right away, and of course now it's back in the box. So yeah, that's how that went. That's all right. We'll get her one of these days. So I tried stripping that Model Master paint, and I don't know what that stuff's made of. It doesn't want to come off. So I sent it to a friend of mine. He has that. I don't know the brand. It's that kind of purplish, not like a reddish purple. It strips everything. It's like $50 for a quart. He's got some of that, and he took that. It's at his house. So I just use brake fluid or purple power or whatever, and it oven off. I tried everything. It wouldn't touch it. It turned it black. So it took the metallic off and just left like a black color. It almost looks like Knight Rider when it went into the acid dip, on that show back. It's like textured like really bad. I thought, what the heck, man? I can't get this stuff off. So it's sitting at his house in his magic pond. So hopefully it'll clean that up nice. I'm hoping anyways. So.
Or you'll buy another one.
I'll buy another one. I probably will for the decals, just for the decals. I really can't kit bash a lot of stuff for that. Not that I do that anyways, but there wouldn't be a lot of parts in there that'd be worth anything to me. But of course, that's where the other colors would come in that I could paint it and then just go back in the box. That's probably how it go.
Right.
Yeah.
But so I've told the story before, but referring back to your retiring your builds after a circuit of the show season, I had a couple of guys back when we used to be in a different club who sat there filling their forms out going, what, they expect us to build new models every year? Yeah, actually. You go to like America's Best Roadster, they don't put the same show car back out on the floor.
Right.
They build a new car. Like I know I'm one to talk, but it's like you could build a model kit, for the show.
There's times I've thought about going to the hill and thinking, could I save this for next year? The sheet that you fill out.
But like one of the questions we always like to ask here. So, like, what is your favorite and then least favorite thing about building models? You can answer that, whichever.
Well, favorite, I've already brought that up as painting. That's my favorite thing. I mean, that's my love of the hobby is painting the model. Probably my least favorite thing. I'd be honest with you. Sometimes the least favorite thing is almost engine work. Just like detailing the engine out. Because I really like to put wires on things or spark plug wires, but I'm in shock by some of these guys that do these real intricate plug wires and they got them right at the right, firing order on the cap, and they got the looms just right. And I thought I have such a hard time doing that. It frustrates me to the no end. So it's just one of those. So I ended up buying these. I don't know if you ever seen this brand here.
Yeah, the little pre-wired.
Morgan, right?
Yeah, they're actually individual. I got these down at the Detroit show, so I bought 5 of these in different colors, and I'm going to give it a whirl, try that. But I have such a hard time with that. That's my biggest gruff with is trying to get the engine detail. The thing is, I work on this stuff all day long too. And so I know what it should look like, and when I try to do it, I can't seem to replicate it to what I have in my head. So it's one of those, I just get frustrated with it. And we were down in Roanoke, Virginia. Matthew from Model Car Videos, he comes over and says, "Hey, Kreg, why don't you ever open your hoods?" And I says, "Because it looks like a 4-year-old built it." It's horrible. So I always leave the hoods closed a lot of times. And I do have a couple cars here that I did just, and to me, it's one of those, if I do start it, and then where do you stop? I have the 90 LX drag car. I built mine as a stock car, like a stock Mustang. And I took the engine and I put fuel rail on it, I put injectors on it, I put AC lines on it. It has everything. I put a throttle body hoses on it for the heaters, just, I mean, it's got everything. And of course, it's one of those cars that's not a big looker for a lot of people, so it gets overlooked at shows, which I'm fine with that. It's just I put so much detail in the engine, and it was almost like a build of its own, just doing the engine work. So it was, I don't know, it took too much time. So like I say, I just wanted to move on to something else. But that's my biggest thing, I think, is an engine detail, something like that. I don't mind interior work as much. That's not too bad. But engine, I think, is my probably biggest downfall. They never get lower radiator hoses. My USAC build, the engine's not even half put together because it just, I don't know. I want it to look good, but just not under the hood. So that's my biggest thing, I think, is paint's my favorite, and engine building part of it is probably the least favorite, because most of your instruction kits, you start with what's number one. Let's put the engine together. No, we'll move that to last. I'll start on the suspension and the interior, and we'll do the engine later. We'll just fold the page over and we'll start from there.
I do body first, and if that doesn't go, then just shelve it. Start a new one.
So with you saying that, that's how I gauge my builds, is I paint the body first, because I do enamel, so I want to make sure it's cured for when it's time to work on it. If the body turns out really, really good, I'll take my time on the rest of the build. If the body's kind of like, I got to work with this a little bit, all right, we'll just slam this together. We'll move on to something else. So I kind of gauge a lot of it on how the body turned out. It's a lot of it. I try to get them all to come out the same way, but it always depends on. I tell you, a lot of times I think it's the clothes you're wearing. For dust in the paint. Because it's got to suck air from somewhere. So you're moving your arm back and forth. I mean, you can't go out and just mow the lawn or bale some hay and come out and paint a model afterwards, because it's just it's gonna get in the paint. It's just, that's how it is. And I tell people, wash your hands. I mean, just you can't have a bag of Doritos and come out and do this stuff. It don't work that way. And I don't wear gloves half the time. It's like, so it's, yeah. Especially I do a lot of black paint jobs because I love doing black. That's one of my favorite. Black and red are my two favorite colors to spray. And black just has that, like, oh, there's a black paint. Let's get this dust stuck in there. It's like a magnet to it. So I find the clothing is the biggest thing. Put on a shirt that's not full of lint and cat hair or whatever you got going on, and just because it makes a difference. I found that out makes a big difference. I actually have I keep a roller out here, so I'll like roll my shirt. I mean, it may sound goofy, but a lot of times I'll do that to, keep the lint from going into the build, because I'd like to eventually upgrade my little paint booth to something a little nicer, because that's just your Amazon $150 special, whatever it is. But it's been working good for me. So I don't buy the nice filters for it. I just use like pillow stuffing and batting or whatever for it. That works pretty good, but it doesn't take long to plug it up too, So
I use a Pace. Pace is over by Toledo.
Yep. So that's the one with
Peacekeeper.
Yes, that's got the two switches up top, and it's basically just open and a flat. Yes, I saw that. Yep. They have a really nice huge one too. That one's up there in price too. What's that one called? It's called something magic. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's well worth it, because I used to use one of those Amazon ones too, and the wife had started, I can smell paint. Oh, all right.
Well, my problem is I don't go into the booth because it's too small. So I'll stay kind of out of it, and especially doing body work. And I got that gallery. Is it the TG? It's got the fan cap on it, and in that booth, I noticed it puts out such a spray. It like releases all the like old paint particles. And I first did a kit with it, and I mean, it's like, what just happened? I mean, it's like I was painting outside in a dirt storm, and just like, where did that come from? Because it was throwing such a large pattern off, and it was just introducing elements that never was touched before, and yeah, that was a bad deal. So that was. Yeah, I had to strip that one completely back down just to get rid, because there was just so much to sand out of it. It wasn't even worth it, at that point. So that's on my next to do is to buy, because that's a stainless, isn't it? I think that's a stainless setup. Yeah, so it looks pretty nice. Because Gallery on their website, they got a waterfall style, and I thought about trying that out, but it's on back order. And then so I got a hold of that Jerome, and he says they're coming out with a new one. It's a bigger one.
Maybe he'll send you one.
I might. That'd be nice, but that I would like to try that out maybe next time. So I built my table back here big enough, because when I built this, that part of the bench is higher, so I could stand at it. Because this is obviously lower for a chair. So I try to keep somewhat in mind when I built this, but I have enough room for a bigger booth, because I just find it's too small, especially if I want to do like a semi or something like that. It's just not big enough. So I looked at that booth like you have, and I thought that'd be a nice upgrade, but once I found out they're coming out with the new waterfall setup, I thought that'd probably be a really good way to go, because it takes a weird, or like the filter's different on it, because there still is a filter, but the water filters out the paint, the fumes. Right. So that'd be really cool to try that. What's that?
That's neat. That's a neat design.
Yes. So I'm really interested I don't know anybody that has one. I'd be really curious how good that works. But the one they were selling, and I see you can buy that same one on Amazon. It just looks cheap, like the pump looks like it's something from Taiwan. I mean, it just looks
fish tank one or something.
Yes. Like, if I get a year out of this, am I going to be lucky? It's one of those things, and now it'll be just a spray booth without the water effect, and it'll be just your typical booth. And I don't know. I got my doubts on it, but I'd like to see one in action.
Well, Gallery puts out good stuff, so I think it'll probably be good quality.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So it looked like a nice unit, and it was pretty decent size. I think it was about the same size of what you have there now. It's that.
I think it's 24-inch. That's what I have.
Yeah, it was decent. So because this one here, I think these are only, I don't know, because you can take and make these in multiple, just because they fold up and.
Right.
But, yeah, it's just that was my first one. Just it's time to upgrade. I'm waiting for the next best thing to come out. And it's just usually you do that, you'll never buy something. You're always waiting for the next best thing. So
Sean, that's what you use too, right? The Amazon kind.
Yeah, it's this thing right here.
Do you have yours wrapped? I see.
Yeah, I wrap it in plastic, like clear plastic, and then periodically I'll, just strip it off. That way, because I didn't want to like get all, filled cruddy with paint, and then.
So I use the it's the Glad. It's the stuff it has like the avocado on it. The steel and the pick and or
peel and stick. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably better than I do it, but it works. Peel and press. Yeah, press and steel. Yeah.
So it has adhesive on the one side of it.
Yeah.
So it's nice because it's not that strong, but it's just enough to hold it. To do. You can put it in. It sticks on its own without taping it. But I've had a lot of people say that the dust will stick to it, or it'll induce dust because it's static. But I really haven't had a problem with it.
I bought a roll of plastic sheathing years and years ago for a house project. I had like 100 feet of it, so I have a ton of it. So every once in a while, I just wrap it in that.
Right. I'm like you. I like it. I like to keep it clean. So once I take that off, there it still looks like it's brand new when I peel that off.
Yeah.
Except the back corner. That's rough looking.
Mine's lit in the inside. It's got lighting.
So is my LED lights.
And then usually I'll take a spray bottle, like mist it with water before I paint, and then that'll, just kind of, if there's any loose dust, it makes it.
Wow, you guys are high tech.
I got a little. I don't even clean mine. I'll miss it. I forget half the time, but I do have a little sprayer here at a model club we go to. That's a guy said he sprays them down all the time first, and I thought I'll try that. And of course, with the plastic, it just beads up, and it's like, okay, it's all wet in here now because it just all seems to just gravitate to one spot. And I don't know, it works either way pretty good for me. So I've tried it both ways, watering it down or just leaving it normal. But
Yeah.
Like I say, a lot of it depends. I have two heater. I have a mini split AC and heat unit in here, and then I have a regular heater on the wall. And I notice if I have the one on, it'll induce more dust. And then I have a kind of like a big register on the wall over here, and I have a HEPA filter on the other side of it, so it don't suck up dirt from the garage. Because I do woodworking on the other side here.
Okay.
And I turned that on because at first I didn't have nothing in here. I just turned the booth on, and it was funny. I could feel air coming out of the plugs, because there's no place to get fresh air. So I thought I got to put some kind of vent in here. So once you put that on, it's like you can actually hear the fan just woo. It's like, oh, I don't have to work so hard. The lights come back. It's just like, okay.
Negative pressure in there.
Yeah. Ears pop. But yeah, I opened that up, and that world of difference putting a vent in here, like a cross flow vent. But I don't know if it was the best idea to put it right behind me. It's like, once again, I feel it takes something off your clothes and puts in there. Yeah. I should have maybe put it somewhere else, but one of those last minute thoughts. So had to do something. So my booth, I have a dryer duct going outside, because this wall, I left about an 8-inch gap between the garage wall and this room. So this room has its own separate walls. It's not attached to the garage. So I have a pipe, like a 4-inch pipe going outside with the dryer vent. And my house is set back in the woods, like on 5-acre property. So you get a lot of critters around here, and at night or whatever. So I made sure I got the one with the industrial screen on there, because I didn't want something in there gnawing through the paint booth and getting it. So when I go to clean mine, I'll actually pull it right out, and I'll take it to the air compressor, and I'll hose the whole, there's just air right out really good. I found that works out really good, cleaning it that way. And I made it to where I just set it back down, slide in, the tube fits right back into the wall, and we're good to go for the next time. But I tell you what, I did find, it seems like I get better paint jobs when it's dirty versus I just clean it. I don't know why. So, because we've all seen an HPI guy, right? And always seen his paint booth, and I thought, wow, well, look at that thing. But I'm thinking, I see why he leaves it like that, because mine comes out great if I don't clean it. There's a method to it. I thought it was just, so it was good stuff.
I lucked out with my booth. I don't know if you can see it right there. So I have a little vent window right above.
That looks identical to mine.
It's the only vent in the entire basement, and it just happened. I lucked out. It was right above my model desk window. I was like, oh, nice. And
that works out good.
That this booth is just the right size for me, because it's small and compact. And actually, when I spray, I have a couple big pieces of cardboard that I'll kind of put here on either side as kind of wings, just to keep any sort of overflow from going in either direction. And it works out fine. I really haven't. I mean, I get dust in here, but I think I'm in a dusty basement. There's stuff from the ceiling, so it's about as good as it's going to get. I don't get that much dust. The Tamiya static brush. Once I start using that is amazing. That does a great job.
I have one of those here. Yeah.
So
I actually seen James use that the first time. Like, where did you get that? So I had to look that up. Like, oh, that works really good. Like, all the wasted years.
I didn't know that was
for years.
Yeah. Oh, that's a hot tip.
And then I heard you washed yours or something like that. Didn't you say you washed it or something? Your old one?
No.
I thought you damaged your one or got it wet or something. I thought you did.
Nope.
No,
wasn't me.
Oh, okay. I thought somebody washed theirs. I thought that was you that did that. They put it in their pocket and they washed it and it ruined it. But I thought that was you that did that.
Don't wash it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they stuck in their pocket actually and went through the wash machine.
Just like those California dusters, the car dusters, never supposed to wash those, right?
Right.
The more dirt you get in them, the better they work.
Right. I mean, you think that they have the opposite effect, but I guess that's how it goes. So yeah, I keep my little Tamiya static brush in a coffee cup right above the paint booth, so I can just grab it, and that way that the bristles are always not folded up somewhere, and I can just grab it, dust it off, put it back up there, and kind of like a shaving mug, just stick her back in the jug and away you go. Yeah, so that worked out really good. Yeah, so my like like you're saying, cleaning the paint booth and whatever. It's just I try to clean my airbrush in there, and I'm always trying to clean the end of it. And sometimes I leave a paintbrush in my paint booth, an old paintbrush, and I'll clean that out. It stays in there, it lives in the paint booth, and I'll clean the end of it out. Well, sometimes the bristles will come out, and I got paint splattered all over that wall over there. If you look real close, there's like little dots all over the place. And I can't clean it, because like what's going to happen. You try cleaning it, just the paint's going to come off the wall. But it just adds character to the room, Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
James, you're kind of quiet tonight.
Oh no, I'm just like I have an Autograph 1530, which is a downdraft booth. The fans are in the bottom.
Oh, okay.
That came with 3 layers of filter. Like there's a real thin one, and then there was like a mid filter, and then there was a charcoal filter. And I sat there and I used it that way for a little bit and did a little research into it. And this thing is actually designed to just recirculate back out into your room air. It's not designed to vent outside. That's why it has the charcoal filter and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, you can't see it because it's underneath the curtain, but I have a block window like Sean does that I put in here. I tore a single pane out and put a block window in that has a dryer vent built into it, and it's all hidden behind me. Like it's all going straight up behind there. But like if I'm venting it outside, I don't need any of that stuff. So I just buy the cheapest. I think it's a 14 by 30, just the cheapest furnace filter Walmart sells for like $2. And then I have the Autograph used to sell the batting on like a 50-foot roll that you could cut yourself. They sold pre-cut sheets, which were like $10 a sheet for some reason. But if you bought the roll and cut it yourself, it was like $10 for the roll. So, just cut that little pre-layer on. I throw it on top of the filter because really the filter at that point is just keeping the paint out of the fans. It's not, all the stench is going outside. So, like, why am I? Because like the carbon, it would basically, if you bought it off of Autograph or even off Amazon, it was like $50 for three sets of all 3 filters. Like, I'm not filtering it into the house. I don't need carbon activated nonsense. I'm just blowing the air outside. So, and even it's got 2 fans in it, so it has 2 discharges. I don't know if I've told the story before, but plumbing this thing in here, like, okay, well, I'll just get dryer vent, blah blah blah, and I get to the end of it. Well, because building codes are what they are, there is no such thing as a dual vent dryer duct. Like you can't duct more than one dryer together because obviously you'd burn an apartment building down that way. And so I actually have a piece of PVC plumbing pipe, a Y pipe that I plumbed into to go outside because you couldn't just get a piece of duct. And I wasn't going to pay somebody, $50 at a furnace duct place to build me a Y pipe. So, but it works well. I mean, I've got I don't know if Sean's has it or not, but mine has the little flappy door that's on the outside to keep stuff from coming in. And you turn this thing on, it'll blow the flappy doors, pretty much the whole way open. So it does what it needs to do. It rarely does anything, but it does what it needs to. I mean, it's got that stuffed animals and the blanket over the top of it because if I don't put stuff there, my cats will sleep on it. They'll sleep in it before I put the thing over it. And then they were like, oh, it's even more comfy now with this blanket on top. So they started sleeping on the blanket and pushing it, into the booth and screwing up the pre-filter that's on top. So that's why everybody gives me crap about the Valentine's Day animals that are back there. But that's why they're there, because that keeps the cats out of there. So the only problem with it is Autograph got bought out by somebody, and so the booth doesn't exist anymore. And like me and another guy who had these bought all the spare parts that they had in stock when they went out of business. So like with extra fans and stuff for it, because I don't, where would you find the fan for it? And I don't want to replace it because it's a 30 inch wide booth. So you're talking about bigger than what the Peacekeeper is. You'd have to get the Peacekeeper 36, and that's like a $700 booth. And that was $350, I think, or something like that when I bought it. So
right.
I did see recently, because I was trying to see if I could find some more of the filter paper, because I'm sure I could just go to Lowe's and they sell that in the filter department. It's for something. It's furnace filter, it's pool filter, it's some sort of, because it's like woven real thin woven fiber.
Right.
But what was it? Oh, what the heck's that stupid hobby tool place that always sends the catalogs?
Micromark.
Micromark, thank you. Micromark will sell you the stuff now, and they'll also sell you the booth. They've found somebody to make the booth for you. They want $800 for it. I said, you have inflated that price quite a bit. Thank you.
That's COVID prices.
Yeah, that's China tariff pricing.
Yeah.
But I do what you guys do. I have a spray bottle and I'll wet the surface down of the pre-filter, and because it's sucking straight down instead of out the back, it seems to keep the dust down. But then I really don't paint bodies in it anyway. So the bodies I painted in there, I've rattle canned, much to Tester's horror. I love when we get people on here that do the rattle canning that he admires, and it's like, what?
You dare?
Exactly.
Hey, I figure if somebody wants to use rattle can, if it works good for them, do it. That's whatever you're comfortable with. Hey, I mean, I did it for years. A lot of us did. So
I love rattle cans.
Yeah, I mean, if that what works for you and you like use them. I mean, I got nothing against people. I've seen some amazing paint jobs done out of a can. I mean, amazing paint jobs.
Oh, for sure. The thing with me is that you start getting into like the race car stuff. Well, then you start getting into specific colors, and like
right
to me, it isn't gonna do that specific. Or you get into the high end resin stuff that Tester and I do, where it's like, I want to paint this a legit Lamborghini color or a legit Porsche color. I don't want to paint it, Italian red. No, I'd rather have the actual Ferrari red.
That's one thing I like about the MCW line is they actually use real car color.
Right.
That's one thing I really like about that line is you can get, because they just released the Corvette colors recently in the later model Ford colors. So the palette's getting quite extensive at this point of what you want to use. Because actually, I use a lot of Chrysler colors on my stuff because some of the colors are really cool looking.
Well, James, it's that time.
Oh, it is, isn't it? So, Kreg, we ask everybody this question. Comes from stealing it off a podcast. It doesn't ask it anymore, so I don't feel like we're stealing it anymore. Do you have in mind, they called it the Opus Magnum build, which was sort of your lifetime achievement build? Is there a project or series of, if you needed to build more than one? Like my thing is like the Gia Race of Macau is a street race in Macau over in China. It's a one-off thing. I have a series of builds to do for that race. But is there a given project or a series of projects that you would want that it sort of be this was Kreg definitionally? Is there a singular model or a group of models that you would like to build prior to shuffling off this mortal coil that would be your life's work, as it were, in the hobby?
So, I mean, this isn't a big model for it, but I'm a big Thunderbird fan, and I have probably 20 of those Turbo Coupe models here from Monogram. And I have 2 auto transporters here, and I would like to build multiple of those cars with the windows up. I want to put plastic on the seats like they come from the dealer and put window stickers in them, all that, the whole 9 yards. That's my ultimate one day I would like to do, because I have the Revell, what's the later auto transporter they did. Because I see transporters coming all the time at the dealer. And so color wise, I mean, I've actually taken pictures of when they come in, and they're not set at any given color. They come in the green, orange, yellow, red. I mean, they're just, you pick whatever color you want. They're just whatever company they are. But I would do just a series of those Turbo Coupes, because I I know that's like, some people like, I wouldn't do that, but that's me. I like that car, and I would do a bunch of those and put on that rack, and put windows in them, plastic on the seats, and that's eventually brand new, right off the factory floor. And that's what I would like to do one day, is build, however many. I think that holds 8 models. I think that transporter, and I got a couple semi kits here and build me a tractor to put on the front of it. And one day, that's my one day to do. That's my to-do list.
Would you make them all turbo coupes, or would you mix in some standard?
I don't know. I might mix in a couple different things, but that's probably be what the majority of them, you know, that way you can do them in multiple colors and whatnot, and that kind of thing. But so when I go to model shows, I usually scout those kits out, you know, and they're getting harder to come by, maybe because I have most of them, but I don't know. You know, they are getting harder to find. And I found the silver box art is the better one because it has the better decals in it. So they
haven't reissued that in a really long time, have they?
No, that has been reissued in, shoot, I don't remember. I can't remember what the gray box art was called. They had that series that Revell did, their monogram. They called it something like
Monogram Motorworks.
Motorworks. There you go. That's it. And that kit had the different decals for like the sail panel and the bird on the side and the where it said turbo coupe. Where the red box, it just give you a license plate decal. That's all you get. And you got to use your imagination for the rest of it. So, but I found bare metal foiling underneath the paint first has worked out really well for me. So next time I do one, I'll bare metal foil the birds and the logos and go that route. So I found, because you know, you wet sand something, I just wet sand right over top the bare metal foil and it just polishes it to a nice chrome. It works perfect. Yeah. You know, you do a couple coats, you can't even see the outline of it. It works really good. Nice. So that's what I would probably build in that multiple kit, you know, because I have like 20 of them here.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. Like I say, it's not everybody's favorite kit, you know, but I always liked the car. I used to have one, and it's just, I would actually, I'd like I said, this guy that I'm dealing with, he has one in his garage, so I'm hoping I can acquire it. And because those cars are, once again, like they're getting hard to come by like everything else. So, but, yeah.
Well, Kreg, you got time. Go ahead and plug your channel. I got subscribers on my channel that are watching you right now. So go ahead, plug your channel.
So so I'm Kreg's Corner. Like I say, just basic car build and just enjoy the hobby, enjoy everybody that's in it. And I tell you what, I see you guys at shows. Love talking to everybody at model shows. You know, just model shows to me are never long enough. I just run out of time. So that's my channel, and like I say, we're all about the model builds.
Awesome. Are you also on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff?
I have Facebook, but I'm just that guy that I just don't get on it enough to. I actually had I couldn't get on my Facebook for a long time. It kept telling me my name didn't exist. It was on my phone, but I couldn't get on it anywhere else. And I type it in like Kreg's Corner, and it'd say, put your email, and it'd say this email doesn't exist. So my wife had an older version of my original one. She put on my phone. So now I got like 3 Facebooks on my phone, and I'm just going back and forth because I got somebody on this one and somebody on this one. I thought I can't keep up with one of them, let alone 3 of them. So I know there's some people that has multiple things on there for mine, but yeah. So if you don't get with me on one, try another one. So yeah, so that's what we have. That's what we have going on. That's keeps it interesting, I guess. But
well, thank you for joining us tonight, Kreg.
Yes, I enjoyed it. So it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Enjoyed
really
chatting.
Yep, really appreciate it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll wrap us for this episode. Next episode that we do will be me and Sean flying this puppy by ourselves because Mr. Tester's being deported to Japan for that episode. And
log in live from Japan.
Yeah, exactly. You get your data stick. You'll be on for like 2 seconds, and then you'll use up all your
go to the 7-Eleven or something.
It'd be like 8 a.m. in the morning there, wouldn't
it?
Yeah. Whatever breakfast item they sell at a 7-Eleven in Japan, just saying, people walk
sushi dish.
It'd be great. But we'll enjoy the report back once he's back here again. And we have people booked out through June at this point, so we have several good episodes coming up. And again, Kreg, I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you.
And everybody, we hope you have a great week, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
See ya.
Bye.